AJE. We are live. January 28th, 2022.
AMA,
Is it already January 28th?
AMA number question mark?
Yeah, we're in the question mark zone now.
Yeah, it's just AMA number like 15.
There we go.
However many weeks it's been since the 15th of October.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I hopped on the 7th one, and I was like, okay, y'all sold me.
Days and nights run together, weeks and months run together. You know, when you're steady on your grind, that's the way it is sometimes.
Feels like every day is Monday or Friday. It's just like
really,
every day.
really is Friday. It's the Friday edition.
That's what happens whenever you work where you love working, you know?
Indeed.
Work on your passion project, and every day is a weekend.
It's like that for me, but like, man, I got to get up and stretch more.
Yeah.
It's called 12 hours just grinding away, and I get up and I'm like, oh man, am I sore?
Stretch those legs on down to Houston, man.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's an idea.
We were talking about getting a place where we have a guest house and we have a place for anybody that wants to like come out to stay and all that kind of stuff.
It's gonna be a YouTuber house.
Heck yeah.
Kid friendly.
Yeah, that'll be Podcast Central.
Yep.
So what's on the AMA goal today? Look at that rhyme, man. I should be Dr. Seuss.
I think biggest news is just getting all this content creation going. We got newsletters coming out. We got podcasts coming out. All the stuff we were trying to get together from like a month ago. It's all finally rolling out. We got some consistent stuff happening. That's my most excited thing for the week.
African Boy has a new single coming out.
Oh man, it's fire, guys. You'll be able to hear it exclusively for the first time ever on our very first podcast, which will be dropping on Monday.
Yeah, I forgot I listened to that. I did a remaster of that just to see if I could change the vocals a little bit.
Fantastic, dude.
It sounds like 10 times better after we mastered it.
You wanna shoot that over to me so I can?
Okay,
cool. Yeah, send it on over to me and I'll get that redubbed.
Heck yeah.
It's actually pretty sweet. Whoever made Ubuntu or whatever, whoever's mixing its music is doing a damn good job.
Absolutely. Very professional, very good quality. I was really impressed. That song just really it lit up my day.
Nice.
Yeah, I was actually having a bad day until I heard it, and I was like, "Damn, dude!" I was like, woke up, got some shit done.
Inspiring.
About the unity.
Yeah, that message was really good. It's definitely on point with our overall goal and mission. It's amazing.
He sent me over a description for that song. Let me see. That way we can kind of have a little insight into the artist.
That's really.
I know at some point some of the
already knowing the process.
So he said the song is all about a young musician telling the world and the music industry to support the young talented musicians and push them to their limits, but not to kill their dreams.
Heck yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing.
I feel like I've been on like a side mission in the metaverse. For anybody that doesn't know, I've been doing developing in Unity, and they forced me to do like 24 hours in VR chat before I could publish.
I didn't force you. Tell them the truth.
Yes. Well, so anyways, there was a way to bypass it by purchasing a membership for a month for like $12, but I didn't know that until I spent 24 hours almost straight just freaking walking around in VR chat for like 2 days, just back to back, just wandering around trying to figure out what I was doing. And yeah, I got dragged from here to there. I ended up in tons of different games, tons of different locations, got a lot of ideas for venues. We found some really amazing shaders that we're going to be setting up for ours. And we've met quite a few community members in there too. So I actually have like a nice little network of people that are they're ready to go. They want to see what we can build, and they got enough people to start supporting it. As soon as we get that stuff out, they'll be visiting. helping
Oh,
pump
yeah.
up the OG.
Oh, yes. So shirts will be done soonish.
To let
Hopefully in
Kenny
the
talk
next week.
about that. That's his baby.
You need to go ahead and touch up on that, Kenny.
Oh yeah, we'll have a couple of different shirts up for everyone to be able to purchase and support the cause. They should be up by next week, and we'll have a couple of different options to choose from. Just a couple of different colors, a couple of different sizes, and also some hoodies since it's cold outside. If you guys want to get some new gear and support the project, we'll have hoodies available as well. So that should be all
Oh, wow.
ready by next week. Mhm.
That's awesome.
Better than we even like expected. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it worked out.
Sign me up for a hoodie, buddy. I'm gonna give me one of those.
Yeah, I'll
me
take one
too.
too.
Yeah, we'll try to get some
Are we
sampling
doing-
out to the team.
Awesome.
Are we doing any pre-sales on that, or are we just going live launch?
We're just gonna go ahead and live launch it, and once they're up and ready to go, we'll go ahead and push them out to everybody, and hopefully everybody likes them, and they go over well with everyone.
Sure they will. They always end up being pretty good.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to getting a shirt.
Shit, I just want my team
Yeah.
shirt.
And soon, once everything's a little bit more streamlined and we're ready to do it, we're going to be doing our own NFT launch of the OG bot, which will also come with its own one-of-one T-shirt of your OG bot that you will be getting, which is I think kind of cool.
It is really cool.
That's awesome.
Physical product with NFTs. This is what it was meant to be.
Yeah,
We
I'm
did our
love-
first
I'm
did our first tarot reading the other day. I forget what day that was on.
Cool.
Yeah, that was
I-
great.
I
It
was
was on
gonna
the
talk about
Chinese
Twitter
New Year,
Spaces.
and yeah,
for a
that was
little bit.
cool.
But first, I wanted to say that I'm excited about the NFT because I really want to build my NFT collection. Definitely, right now is a good time to buy, but I want to have meaningful NFTs. Like I want to like take my integrity and like use that for the gallery that I have, and like when I show people this is my NFT gallery and like this is what each of these art pieces mean to me, I want to like help people like kind of bridge that, like how people like collect art and they're like, okay, this I got because of this. I want to kind of do that in my own wallet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the NFT. But Twitter
Fantastic.
Spaces, yeah. So with Billy, I'm doing Twitter Spaces on Sundays. The time might change here and there just due to like work constraints and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I did a reading for the new year and also talked about the the Chinese New Year, which is going to be Water Tiger this year. Starts February 1st in America and February 4th in real like China. So um, I'm going to be retouching on those cards since we didn't get a recording of it, and the actual water tiger element, and then bridging that over into how animal spirits are relatable in crypto. There's already a theory out there, so we're going to kind of talk about that theory and get in depth with that.
For people that are unfamiliar with that, that's the animal spirits theory in financial circles. That's where we get terms like bull market, bear market, etc. It's reflective of the emotional state of people within the market as well as the market at large. The theory basically is that most people are making their financial decisions based off of emotional compulsions rather than the logical components that are traditional to like financial markets, etc. And it's really cool. Very very cool way to tie in the symbolism of Chinese astrology and also, you know, to give you a little bit of insight into how all of that relates to what we're doing and the way that financial circles tend to work.
Yeah, and people actually use the Chinese astrology every year to map out how their money's going to go. So I felt like it was, I want to be a person who kind of bridges the gap for this universe, like where, I know that Decentraland had people doing tarot readings and stuff like that, but, just kind of bringing it to like some sense of normalcy like it is now in like regular population.
Yeah, also with a focus on the fact that social trends are such that neurodivergence is no longer looked upon as such a stigma, that there's a more open and welcoming way of appreciating people that have different viewpoints, different psychological landscapes, and give people an opportunity to relate to the product on a more personal level. It's esoterica. It's not all woo woo. There's a lot to it, and it's a developed science.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
actually
I
writing
think
an article about neurodiversity in the metaverse, and I'll probably cover a couple of those things that you just spoke of. Talking about how the stigma is now broken, where if you had any type of neurodiversity, they were like, oh, well, you have a disease or you're disabled, and then kind of breaking that down, but rolling into some of the other neurodiversity where like we're a worldwide company, so there are other places in obviously not the US, but where people use recreational drugs and stuff like that, which creates like a neurodiverse type of mindset, and how that will play out in the metaverse. And then it'll probably end with more of like working in the metaverse as a neurodivergent. So the article is called Neurodivergent Metaverse. So be on the lookout for that. I have a lot of work to do. So it's just going pretty slow, but I've got the outline and I'm streamrolling it.
We're on issue number 2 already with the newsletter, and got new issues coming out every week.
yeah, and going back to the whole tarot thing that y'all did, like I really accept that as an art form. So I absolutely think that that has a place, in our Twitter Spaces. So if y'all want to facilitate more of those, that would be, my honor to have you.
It's the occult arts and sciences, definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over the cards that I pulled last week again, like I said, because we didn't record it, because it really hit hard on shifting the paradigm from currency that's like material that you can touch to more ethereal, where it's like crypto and blockchain.
Yeah.
So I wanted to retouch on that because that was a good thing that was divined from that moment. Like, I didn't go into that with the speech. Like, I did do studying on the year of the tiger, but like when it comes to the tarot, it's all intuitive, and I just read what the cards are saying in front of me. So I am going to touch on those cards again, and I'll possibly pull another card that's just like an influence of the energy that we're at right now.
Awesome. For those of you that don't know, Mal's been reading tarot for the last 10 years, alongside of me. I've been doing it for about 17 or so years, and she
It's over 10 years
massively,
now.
yeah, massively surpassed me in her skill set. Is the point that I wanted to make? Like, just very in tune with you know the real world implications of that medium.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Uh, eventually, I have an artist or a reader who is interested in signing with us, and I want to do some coaching after I launch my own work. One of the launches that I'm going to be doing for free is I'm going to do a full write up of the Year of the Tiger and just like like have it as an NFT, but for free, just to show what I do, and then show like maybe have like a couple of tarot readings, one for the year and like something else, like a forecast, and then eventually I want to put my own like spell work and spellcrafts there. So I want to help by learning through what I can do and then coach her on board, to where she can, because she's excited about the metaverse. Like it's just completely like, all encompassing. Her boyfriend's already making NFTs. She's also excited about land plots. And I was like, okay, hold on. We haven't started selling the land plots yet, but I will definitely let you know as soon as possible.
Something like that.
Love your office.
Say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, Laura from our development team is here.
Nice,
She's one
nice.
that did most of our stuff for our
I did the
website.
graphics for a minute.
And the new logo.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Spectacular work, by
Thank
the way.
you.
We all love the
I
new
still
logo.
show that off all
Well,
the
y'all
time.
done a lot with it, so y'all are doing great. Whoever's taking it and using it.
Yep,
We-
yeah,
we
yeah. We
all-
actually
we
have it
all
on
dabble.
display right now. It's on display in VR chat. People can actually walk around and see it in their headset.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Got
we've
on some
had,
posters.
we've had Casey do some content with the new logo.
Yep.
We got it in the new VR chat. Got a bunch of new images with it. Really, really looks great.
Awesome.
I got a question for Gunpoint.
Yeah, nice.
When do you think the Oculus version of our VR chat room will be accessible?
That's a really good question. Within a week, regardless. But there was supposed to be a way to tie it to the other versions so the PC and the Oculus people can hang out in the same spot. But for some reason, it overwrote the kit for it, and it gave it a different code, so it split them. So I got to figure out why it did that. And if I can fix it, then we can all be in the same space. Otherwise, I'll just upload it within probably a couple days here, and it'll just be separate for now.
Cool, sounds good. I'm excited to check it out.
Heck yeah.
That's really great, because we plan to do another live demo probably like the second week of February. So if we could actually have people walking around in our space, that's what they wanted to see. So many people just kept asking and asking. I'm like, let's get
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
familiar with how to use these tools first.
Yeah, we'll have it up by then for sure for them.
Sorry, guys. I was helping my mom with her wallet.
Yeah, by that time we might even have like a test house available. It's a possibility.
Really excited to see it. I've seen some of the work that you've done, and it looks incredible. And I'm really looking forward to hopping in and moving around in there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's
Can't wait till the shaders ready.
Yeah,
it's
for those
funny
that
when
don't
you're
know,
building the truck. Oh,
for
sorry.
those that don't know, Gunpoint has been doing 36-hour days on the VR chat.
He's having 72-hour days. He's got 19 day weeks.
Yep.
And
24 hours with furries.
That's right. 24 hours a day with furries, and the rest of the 72 has been straight solid
Yeah,
work.
he's over there messing with time crystals, getting this shit done.
I got
That's
I
right.
got 3
That's right.
computers so that way I can work on stuff all simultaneously. So I'm putting in 8 hours of work every hour.
All the while, people chiming in, asking you questions, getting your approval for things, and having you generally run through the ringer.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
what is that fucking building from Dragon Ball Z? They like train in for like ever. And
Oh yeah.
the incubation chamber, something like that.
Yeah, the incubation chamber. It's like a year and 1 day.
Yeah,
That's right.
Hell
yeah, it
yeah.
ended up being like one or 2 days.
I identify heavily with that. I'm like, if I could be
Okay.
anyone, I would be Vegeta, for sure.
Hey, and I just wanted to add, hey, since we're all inclusive, like
That's me.
furries allowed.
My blueberry is Bulma.
colored Pico.
That's actually why I dyed my hair blue. I wanted to be
Live with that
I wanted to be
Gabriel.
Bulma. I look up to her. She's a great wife, a good mother. She's a scientist. I'm all about science, and I'm
Absolutely.
definitely all about time jumping and what is it called? Quantum leaps. So
Yes,
like,
absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna show you.
For those of you that don't know us personally, Mallory and I are married. We've been married for 9 years, and we've been together for 14 years. And that
Woo!
that is
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
definitely that's symbolic to us, most definitely.
Nice.
Definitely takes a kind to be married that long. So, you got something going.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I got a question over to Momo there. This is kind of more of a general question, but what is your take on what's going on with the market? Are we going back into a positive streak here? Because I think it's good, but I don't know your take on it.
So the market always goes the path of least resistance. So if you think that everybody in the world is thinking that it's crashing, probably got a little bit extra to go. If everybody starts saying it's the bottom, it's probably going to start consolidating for a few months. And then if everybody says, oh, it's going to the moon, depends on where you're at. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure that price isn't getting too overextended. And basically what we're just having is a correction. Like everything in the crypto market was entirely too overvalued. So everything's going back to what it's supposed to be valued. But again, everything's dictated on the movement of Bitcoin. And I don't think Bitcoin's at where its actual value is. I think, the value is going to bounce around from a range of 15,000 at a low to about 35,000 at a high. And we might see, some bouncing around there. If we end up going above 45, we're looking at possible dead cat bounce. If we actually don't hit an all-time high, then we could see a very, very big pullback down to the 20s. And if Bitcoin goes, then the rest of the market's going to go with it. But what essentially is happening right now is Bitcoin has been correlating with the S&P 500, and a lot of these hedge funds try to diversify their risk. And whenever they realize that Bitcoin is heavily correlated with the S&P 500, they consider it a high risk asset. So a high correlated risk asset. So essentially, it's not diversified as much as they thought it was. So we're going to see a lot of those hedge funds pulling out to try to guard or mitigate their risk. So as if those hedge funds aren't in there, we're going to have to wait for Bitcoin to start showing some kind of divergence from price in the S&P 500 in the stock market, for those hedge funds to start considering that it is a low risk or a low correlated risk asset. And once that happens, we should see accumulation happen again. And that's probably going to happen whenever we see some sideways consolidation in the Bitcoin price for an extended period of time. And then the stock market will either go up or down, and that'll dictate the uncorrelation, which will draw their interest again.
yeah, and I noticed that the mainstream media is heavily posting on, like I just feel like they're invoking the FUD. And for me, when we see these big corporations trying to pump that, crypto is down, crypto is a scam, or any of that kind of stuff. I even saw one about OpenSea today. It just gives a clue that it's going to turn around, and they're trying to protect their own assets before us in the community.
Yeah, and see, you have to understand too, as market movers, like the market makers is well, I call them market makers, but they're called market makers or market takers depending on order books on exchanges. But market makers are the ones who basically add liquidity to the books. They're the ones that use limit orders and stuff like that to basically set a price, and I'm going to buy at this price. Well, the whole way down, they're building their longs, right? So they're building long positions when the price is going down, and then whenever we start getting to a stable position, they are going long, and it starts going up, they're building their shorts, right? And as price hits that peak, they're selling their longs, and then they're building their longs back down again. So They're always building shorts on the way up and they're building longs on the way down. And they're the ones that dictate the majority of the market movement. So if they want the price to go down, they're going to push it down. If they want the price to go up, they're going to make it go up. And again, they'll create these patterns like the M and W patterns that you'll see it come down and go, and then kind of come back up again, and then you'll have like a bear trap or a bull trap, and then it'll come back down, or you'll see a double M and then it'll come back down. They're the ones that all make those patterns, and it's all dictated off of the different time zones as well. So if we see how Bitcoin closes at the end of the London market, the London session, that's majority of the time where you're going to see the big market movers and what their decisions are. And then you'll see confirmations from those at the end of the Sydney and Australia sessions. So the market mover isn't like one entity or like one person or like a group of people that even know each other. It's just what all the big whales are doing because they all know what these different scenarios mean and how to act accordingly. You know?
Do
Yeah, I
you have
noticed
any
that this morning.
to the idea that there's a long game correlation between market trends since the 1970s and the S&P to the current trends from origin to this point in Bitcoin? Like I've seen the M graph with like the uptake, and they basically over like 20 to 30 years in the S&P 500, you have a very similar like arc of movement to Bitcoin as a whole.
So it's not necessarily as correlated on the S&P 500 as it is the DXY.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever the dollar index was created, they basically put a basket of other currencies and paired it against the US dollar. And that gives you a relative strength for the index, US dollar. That has strictly been inversely correlated with Bitcoin's price. So right now we're seeing a strengthening in the dollar, which means that asset prices are going to be coming down. Because anytime that the dollar is crashing, everybody's trying to go into assets to try to get the most bang for their buck, right? To keep their risk off of the US dollar. But what we just had was a W formation on the DXY, and we had a push up to a higher high than the peak on the W, which indicates that that could be a reversal pattern. But we're also hitting the bottom band of a very, very important resistance line that has already been rejected majorly one time. And we're hitting back for another retest. And if it breaks through, I mean, we're probably going to be looking at some bigger upside for the DXY, which means we're going to be looking at some bigger downside for Bitcoin. Because any Bitcoin pair is paired against the US dollar. So if you go on Kraken and you look at Bitcoin, it says Bitcoin USD, which means that you're going to be selling your US dollar and buying Bitcoin in hopes that Bitcoin is going to outperform the US dollar. So naturally, if the US dollar falls, Bitcoin price goes up. If the dollar's price goes up, Bitcoin's price goes down just because of that relative parity.
Do you really see a possibility of a $15,000 low?
Yes, yeah. So I mean, so if like the sky does or the floor does fall out, and we actually do see like some fucking like brain bleeding shit to where everybody is fucking selling, I mean, don't be fucking afraid or don't be fucking surprised if we have another COVID event, don't be surprised we go to 3K.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dead serious.
And then it's time to buy.
Like 3K, there was so much.
Buy.
Like, so whenever I was trading during COVID, right, I was doing shorts on the way down for Bitcoin. I worked my way up to about 2.5 Bitcoin. And the volatility was so drastic at 3,000 that the price flew past my stop loss, flew past my take profit, and then flew back up past my stop loss without either one of them being filled, and my whole account was liquidated. Like, that's how volatile it was. It was gapping almost $1,000 in seconds. So to see a $6,000 Bitcoin, I wouldn't call that, out of the possibility. For a psychological low, I would say 15, just because you would have people like Kramer and all these other hedge fund managers that fucking miss Bitcoin starting to get in below 20K. That's going to be a major buy point for a lot of these people that basically just said, look, I'm not even touching it until it drops below 50 or 20K. So I'm looking at probably 19K for an average value of the bottom, with a possible bounce up around like 25 to 30K, as a reasonable bottom for a psychological level for people to want to get back in. Like, it would have to be some kind of panic sell-off like COVID for us to push back down to those $6,000 levels. But I just don't think that, that's going to be reasonable unless we do have another COVID event. So 19 is probably my lowest for the bottom.
So to throw back in what we were talking about earlier, with animal spirits, and the financial circles, last year we were in the Chinese New Year, year of the ox, and we had all-time highs all over the place. We had bull markets, and that's right in sync with the symbolism of the ox. And alternately, this year it's the year of the tiger. That's gravity. Gravity and physics in motion there, guys. But yes, so this year we're in the year of the tiger, and that's conservation of energy. Possibility of bursts of energy, but generally, laying like a fatty in the sun with our bellies up while we wait. So it makes a lot of sense in terms of the esoteric import of the concept of animal theories.
Hey, I wanted to ask if this is a good time. What do you think about the environmental factors of crypto in general? Is this just for Bitcoin, or like what are the fears there that are being addressed?
So essentially, the problem is with.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say one of the interesting things when people talk about the environmental factors of Bitcoin is like we really it needs to be compared to something, and if we compare it to the current way finances are made, I would say that all of the alarmists that talk about, it consumes so much energy and it all this and it's not eco-friendly, I would argue very strongly that our current financial system and structure of how everything is extremely non-eco-friendly.
I
definitely would agree with that.
Even the printing of cash, right?
But see, you have to understand too, like the energy consumption is a worry, but it's being resolved, right? So currently you are on a proof of work system where you have a lot of computers doing a lot of computing power. That computing power, as far as energy consumption, takes up what New Zealand consumes in a year, right? Which isn't like a small footprint, right? But the conversion over from proof of stake or proof of work to proof of stake will essentially nullify the means for those, or the needs for those computers to run, and essentially people will offer up their tokens as collateral to incentivize themselves to maintain the security of the network. So everybody basically has skin in the game, right? So if you have a node with 42 Ethereum, which you have to have, I believe, 32 or 42 Ethereum in order to operate a node. You can also pull together for this, but you have to have that much skin in the game. That's a lot of fucking money to lose if you're trying to, fuck with the network and everybody says, hey, stop doing that. If everybody says stop doing that and the whole network agrees that you're being malicious, then you're probably going to lose all your fucking money, which isn't fun for anybody, and nobody wants to do that. It's the whole reason why Bitcoin or Ethereum miners would rather just mine the network and keep it secure than spend all the money in the world to try to get above I think it's five. They have to have above 500 terahashes per second right now, which is astronomical. Like you would literally have to have, one or two quantum computers, probably one, in order to fucking achieve that. To achieve a 51% attack. But whenever you look at the lower end blockchains like Bitcoin SV, some of the others that don't have as big of a hashing power like Litecoin, those get attacked all the time. So they're not necessarily secure and safe. So with proof of stake, it keeps that 51% attack from happening, because you don't actually have the ability to gain 51% of the network power to change it, because it's actually so distributed, you know.
It's also a little bit confusing to me because I've been researching heavily about different like crypto. Like, first I was looking into Terra, and then now I'm like looking at Earth Fund and different things like that. I mean, those things would offset, any type of, because Earth Fund is like planting trees, but also like saving the Amazon forest, and like there are other tokens out there that are doing the same thing. So it's like, why are we not, talking about how we're doing the offsetting as well? It's always in the mainstream media wanting to talk about the negatives to bring, people down and, you know, create
Well,
that
so
fear.
there's
That's
always
all
a
FUD.
well, no,
Yeah,
I mean
you've got
there,
a point there.
there's always a buffer period between technologies getting picked up, right? Proof of stake hasn't been around that long. It's only been around since 2017. Proof of work has been around for a while, and what gives crypto its value is that it's not the money that's put in or the market cap, it's the trust in the network. Nobody's going to pay $4,000 for an Ethereum if they don't have trust in that network properly functioning. So proof of stake hasn't been proven. It has now, but in 2017, whenever it came out, nobody fucking trusted it. So there's no value there. But now that, proof of stake has actually been, tested, it's proven to be secure, it's proven to be just as effective as proof of work. The move over to it is going to be pretty unanimous, and we see that through all the blockchains. I mean, even what Solana's doing, proof of stake, you're gonna have Ethereum doing proof of stake,
That's
Polkadot's
all
proof
ETH2.
of stake.
ETH2 is the big hitter that's going to basically make that the standard.
Well, Polkadot really set the standard for that. I mean, you're talking about Gavin. So Gavin is the creator of the Solidity language. So he is the one who actually engineered Polkadot, and Ethereum was supposed to be set up as Polkadot from the get-go. It was supposed to have a layer 2. It was supposed to have all these different functionalities that never got implemented. And part of the reason being is because whenever you build a program, it's much easier to build the program the correct way from the ground up than to have to go back and put a shit ton of patches over all the other shit that you're trying to take out. Because once it's deployed, you can't change it. Like you can change it, but you have to build on top of it, nullifying certain things, right? And what Polkadot essentially has done is built it the correct way from the get-go. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to interconnect all these different blockchains. So they are going to be the token that's going to be the wide area network. And all these blockchains are going to have to be proof of stake in order to be connected, you know? And right now, I mean, we have a bunch of individual distributed networks, which is, okay. And it's kind of like what the internet was in, the early 90s, early 80s. It was just a bunch of, different networks that were not really connected by a wide area network. And essentially, Polkadot's going to be that wide area network that connects all these other distributed networks together. And then proof of stake is going to be a key concept in that, which again is going to bring down, a lot of the environmental impact because of the fact that it's, it only relies on the energy that the internet uses currently. It doesn't use anything else. So, I mean, as long as the internet's running, it's going to be running and it's going to be using the same amount of energy.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like once Stellar Lumens is like really going and going, they have where they use less computers and less energy. There's skin in the game for, you know, offsetting that fear of like environmental factors. Because
That's a
that's
good
something
point.
that's important to me and a lot of people that I know. But
Absolutely.
as I got into it, I started finding more and more things that align with my values. And it's just like any stock, you invest in what you believe. So
Yeah.
I feel like, once people can start cycling the good information, we can really, make that impact.
Yeah. I mean, and don't be surprised if the crypto market doesn't get adopted for another 20 years or 10 years. Majority of technology is 10 years behind civilians. So, I mean, the CIA the CIA is the actual ones who actually invented blockchain technology. Then there was a company called eGold that actually came out before Bitcoin. It was a distributed ledger. It was, just like Bitcoin. The only issue is whenever people started laundering money through it, they didn't, they had a centralized entity to fall back on. And, they basically destroyed that company. eGold is still around, but they're a distributed company now. They're not, a centralized corporation. So Satoshi came and actually decided to make everything decentralized, and he had the right concept with the working algorithms for like the computers doing the algorithms and everything. But then they came up with better solutions, and that's the whole thing about crypto is it's so competitive that if somebody finds something that's better, then it's almost unanimously adopted. And everything's just trying to progressively grow on itself to become a better product. um, I mean, it's truly capitalism at its finest. I don't care if you're not a big capitalist or anything like that, but that it kind of shows like the other side of the coin of capitalism, to where the competition actually is good because one, the miners are trying to be more efficient. They're trying to run off of less electricity because it costs them more electricity. So the lowest electricity that they can get plus the lowest heat rating and all that other stuff um, increases their profits. Which again, Bitcoin, whenever you're doing mining algorithms, it's an incentive. It's an incentive to the network to try to keep security. um, that's what all crypto tokens are as a utility token, is to incentivize people to utilize the network or to keep secure for the network. And then with Ethereum, it's the same way. And then with validators actually getting the crypto and not having to rely on a computer to do that, I mean, it's going to cut down the energy efficiency drastically.
Market trends are always going to be a deciding factor. And we've got we've got a nation here of about 300 million folks that they have diverse landscape of outlooks, and one of the initiating factors in what all of these organizations are going to be looking at is how the market at large is going to absorb their product, and that's going to determine a lot. You've got people talking about their concerns with the impact on the environment. Well, there's going to be a market solution for that, and keyword with crypto, blockchain, any of these technologies is patience. Definitely. I mean, there's going to be a lot of chance for appreciation of wealth as long as you're able to hold on for dear life and be patient.
So, I mean, like one of the major flaws on why crypto hasn't become adopted, like MasterCard or Visa or anything like that, isn't the volatility. I mean, we have stable coins that take care of that. The issue is within the amount of transactions per second. Currently, Ethereum can handle, I think, 12 to 20 transactions per second, which, MasterCard and Visa handle over 10,000 to 50,000 per second. With the ability for ETH 2.0 to come out, the ability for side chains and then sharding, you know, you could see those transaction limits within time. It's not going to be like immediate, because you're going to have roll-ups, you're going to have side chains, and you're going to have sharding solutions. And all these solutions are going to have to actually be efficient. And once we actually reach that efficiency, we could see transactions up into the hundreds of thousands per second, which will blow MasterCard and Visa out of the water. And that's on a low end. I mean, on a high end, we're looking at, you know, tens of millions of transactions per second if the rollups are highly efficient.
Yeah, we are pushing near the 1 hour mark.
You're pushing near the 1 hour mark.
Just putting it out there. No, it's good. It's good stuff for people that want to. For people that want to hang out and listen to more. I mean, this is good. It's like a mini podcast.
I know. I'm liking it. Y'all got any more crypto questions? I'm full of focus.
I actually wanted to throw some numbers out there real quick. For the people that like, I mean, obviously anybody listening is probably on the crypto side of things, but for when those people try to argue, you know, about efficiency and about the cost of the environment and whatnot, when you take like one money company, not even like a major company, but like, well, it is a major company, but like you look at Brinks is employing 62,000 people. So those people have to drive to work every day. They're using fuel to get to work. That's, you know, quite a bit of gas throughout the year. They have 650 branches that all have to be fully powered. They all have to have vehicles. So they have 7,800 of their own vehicles that are constantly out driving. They're not driving Priuses. They're driving, you know, these big ass trucks that are getting 5 miles to the gallon. So for people to come out and worry about the price of crypto, it's like, well, how many crypto trucks are out there driving around hauling crypto all day long, 24/7? Nobody's ever said anything about the American dollar wasting money hauling stuff back and forth. It's just something that we have to do. You know, we have to have 60,000 banks open at all times. It's like, it's just something we need. But crypto spends $10.
It's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the value of the dollar and what it costs to maintain it. Unlike how crypto, it's built within the system. You know,
right.
It's not even comparable. I mean, the cost is fractions of a fraction of a fraction. You know.
Yeah.
You have to understand one side of the flip side of crypto, though. Okay. There's a reason why the CIA was the first people who make blockchain. It's the government's wet dream to have a currency that gives the sense of anonymity while still being able to be tracked. So that does need to stick in everybody's mind. Like, it's not something that you're going to be, you know, doing to try to get away from any kind of monetary you know, gain. Like you're gonna have to pay your taxes. You're gonna have to, you know, even more than before. That is one of the drawbacks and one of the big caveats of crypto, but it does give the ability for the world to be able to bank themselves, which is something that the world necessarily doesn't have access to. You know, you look at somebody in Kenya or you know, anywhere like that, and they don't have access to the banks, but damn sure they got access to cell phones everywhere, you know. And the ability for them to transact and be able to transfer, you know, a monetary value from one person to another is greatly empowering to the majority of the world. But it does have that flip coin to where, or the flip side of the coin to where it is a way to track your funds. We have other things that can take care of that, like Monero and stuff like that. But again, I mean, the reason why they haven't stopped it is because they want it to happen, but they don't have the infrastructure set in order for it to happen. For them to be able to track everybody like they would want, they would have to have another entity, like another a person in the alphabet soup, like the SEC, and their goal would just have to be crypto analysis, blockchain analysis. And they don't have that yet. So that's why there's so much pushback against the government doing this, is because one, it's so crippling to their monetary structure that they have, the fact that, you know, all our money is built out of debt, And, the Federal Reserve doesn't want to basically forfeit, our debt. They want to collect on those debts, but they know that we're never going to be able to collect on those debts, because if we paid off the entire deficit, there would be not one single bit or single dollar left in circulation.
Every individual owes a certain number of hundreds of thousands of
Well,
dollars.
you have to understand. So whenever inflation hits, like most people think that inflation is due to the fact that we're printing money. The Fed printing money does not have a shit to do with inflation. Inflation is whenever the banks are getting this money and they're able to lend out 15% more than their reserves. It says that that is their power, like in the actual SEC construct, that's their power to create money.
That's fractional reserve banking
Yes, exactly.
at large for you guys. Yeah.
Exactly. So the fractional reserve banking system allows banks to lend to other banks 15% more than they hold, and then that bank can lend to another bank 15% more than they hold. So you have this inflation of currency that is artificial. It's not actually there. And that's actually what causes our goods and services to inflate.
Yeah,
So
that's why
that's
I was kind of like, all right, I'm investing in Stellar Lumens because I know that, these wire transfers have to go through multiple people before they even get to the person. And then if you have a company like Stellar Lumens that can just like, you know, translate it over to whatever currency is in that, that country, that streamlines the process and it costs less. And for me, that would seem more environmentally friendly.
Yeah. And the fact that being like, so all banks are is just is a centralized ledger, right? That's all a bank is you give them money, they write down on their spreadsheet how much money you have, and then you paid money to somebody, they write down on their little spreadsheet how much money to negate from yours and add to their account. That's all a bank is just a ledger of transactions. And that's essentially what blockchain tries to fix, is the fact that you have a ledger, but you don't rely on a centralized entity to verify correctness.
That's the trustless element.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of private sector solutions to this problem, not from a good for the consumer and general user, but for larger companies. Like you're seeing Google start up a blockchain division. You're seeing a lot of big private sector industry getting into those notions, because they know that they have to segue and they have to maintain relevancy, and that's the only way that they're going to be able to do it, because this really is, we're in the Wild West. We're still very early on. For those of us that have been following the market trends of cryptocurrencies since 10 and 15 years ago, going on 15 years. We can see that there's a obvious utility for these networks, but it took a while for it to catch on in the general market, and now that it actually is, and it's such a big thing, these larger private sector organizations are going to be segueing, and you're going to see big national moves. As a matter of fact, we talked about this in Gunpoint crypto coffee hour in your first episode. We talked about the implications of blockchain technology and what it shows for culture and social trends at large. And we find that there's going to be a certain point at which you'll be able to vote on the blockchain. You'll be able to provide basic utilities on the blockchain, and those will be verifiable and trustless peer-to-peer transactions. No one will have some centralized access to it. It'll be independently verified and all of that. And those are the things that maybe might cause scares for on a national level, on a public level. But we'll see all of that subside over the next few years, and that's why I say patience is key. Waiting for mass adoption is something that we're going to have to do in order to be able to ride the trends of the market all the way up to the crest.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to be something that's not going to come without some fight. I mean, the Federal Reserve doesn't want to give up their debt that the countries owe, and they don't want the countries to have a way to be able to facilitate trade without utilizing their fractional banking system. Currently, they have the world-renowned currency. So if one person wants to trade goods with another, they have to trade in U.S. dollars, and that's the big thing that gives our money value right now. Without our money, like the U.S. dollar being the world-renowned currency, our money's worthless. It's just debt. That's all it is. There's nothing backing it. There's nothing. The only thing that gives it value is the fact that we can go somewhere and we can spend it.
Crucial key terminology there is the petrodollar, and I mean that's what wars are fought over. That's why we fought so hard to maintain that stronghold as a nation, and seeing it slip is definitely going to create lack of confidence, and we'll see negative trends in the market as a result of that. Those are things that are reflections. They're not necessarily the primary utilities, but they are reflections of those fears that are being disseminated. And Kenny, you said FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's a social tool. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt is something that is going to be expounded upon in ways that we haven't seen before, because of the fact that we have the threat of mass adoption of these decentralized agencies. Most definitely.
Yeah, but like tapping back into like some of the offset, like these larger companies are not going to want to isolate audiences, like that's why they're trying to cater to some of the new technology. And like once more and more hop on board, it's just
Yeah.
like the dominoes fall from there.
So
Yep.
the big thing that I just looked up the numbers just to make sure that I was getting the numbers correct. The family that owns the Federal Reserve, the Rothschild family, that family net worth is $20 trillion. Do you know how much money is in circulation in the U.S.? Like all of the USD in circulation is $40 trillion. The person that owns the bank that we borrow money from, their family's net worth is half of our circulating supply.
This is the real fight between the 99% and the 1%. So like this is the battleground right here.
Like we're not talking about like if you're a billionaire, like you're a big person here. Like if you're a billionaire, they'll piss on you. Like
Right.
like
Yeah, we say billionaires club as kind of
Yeah.
an iconic way to tokenize it, but we're talking trillionaire club.
Yeah, because if you have fucking, let's say you have $1 million, right, and then you move up to $1 billion, you have, what is it, like 100, yeah, it's a million 100 times, right? And then whenever you move up to
1,000 times.
yeah, there you go, 1,000 times. And then
1,000
whenever you
bullets.
move up to $1 trillion, it's a billion 1,000 times. Like it's exponentially big. So for a family to have a net worth of $20 trillion and for $40 trillion to be in the U.S. circulation system is completely fraudulent. Like essentially, we need the Federal Reserve to be audited to see if they actually hold these assets and if there's actually the ability to back that. So, they could fucking basically be illiquid. You know what I mean?
Daddy. Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Daddy.
Hey,
What
it's my
up?
daughter.
Nice.
Hello, Jackie.
She saw you on camera, so I was like,
I heard
alright.
that.
Say hello.
I knew what happened there. Dad's here on TV, right?
He's famous.
The OG
Maybe you'll be
network.
a guest on my podcast one day, honey.
On the internet, worldwide.
Worldwide.
Oh, fucking Tiger King and shit.
Hey, you're the tiger. You're the Tiger King, right? Guys, this has been a great conversation. Anybody have anything else that they'd like to contribute? Any questions?
A quick shout out to Sean, who's dealing with a illness in his household.
Oh, Sean, yeah, Sean,
He got the
CEO,
COVID.
big man.
Everybody pray for him.
Be well, my brother. Hopefully you get well soon. If you need anything, let me know. I'll come drop supplies for you.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you my reach around this week. I'm sorry.
I'll bring you grocery, but I'll drop them on the doorstep. Okay.
6 feet.
That's
6
right.
feet.
That's right.
Fuck that! You better keep that door closed, bitch. I'll get back in my car and you can.
We said, bud, if you hop on the AMA, stay at least 6 feet away from your phone, please.
Yeah. If you're listening to it too, man, we don't need any after effects.
The next team meeting we do, we all gotta have masks when he hops in.
Do we need
Sean, you don't have your mask, man? Come on.
we need the digital variant of COVID? No, thank you. We've already got Omicron. It's bad enough.
Is there a COVID token out there?
Hey, you know what?
Yes, there is. I'm sorry for the rug
shit.
pull. It was a rug
Oh
pull.
man,
Sorry to hear that.
just for the memes.
Yeah, it was a rug pull. It was like within hours.
Oh, isn't that ironic? The big
Right.
COVID rug pull, right? The mass transference of wealth.
It wasn't
between
as
the
bad as
public
Squid Game, bro. Squid Game was a bad one.
and the Squid Game token.
$4 million fucking in seconds.
I wasn't even
Right.
familiar with that. That's wild.
No, Squid Game, it went all the way over the news, everything.
Wow.
Everybody was buying into it, dude.
Wow.
I
Like,
didn't even hear about that.
up to like $4 billion or something like that,
Wow.
and then fucking rug pull, dude.
Oh my goodness.
I'll show
Oh my
you the
goodness.
video.
There
The
was,
guy that's like, oh, there it goes.
and
Oh, with
we're
the
mad.
zero.
We're mad about a $1.2 million Apes Club rug pull. You know,
Mhm.
these guys are up in the upper echelons of you know.
See, that's the whole another thing too. Is like, that's one of the big reasons why we're freezing all of our artist data, because eventually one of these days, since Bored Ape Yacht Club is all hosted on a server, if that server ever goes down, those fucking apes are going to be full of 404 messages.
Yep.
You know, so it's going to keep the longevity of the music alive.
That's the question. Do you actually own your asset? Right? If it's not retrievable, then it's nothing.
You know, you go buy $1 million ape, and then fucking one day you wake up and you got a 404 message in your wallet, and you see they're not pissed.
So this is why networks like Filecoin are so essential to these types of projects. You know, you have a network where you have basically, without getting too technical, you have mirrored aspects of the network that are pulled by miners like puzzle pieces from independent computers. And you've got the if 70% of the network goes down, you still have availability of your asset roughly.
They have to
I never knew
maintain
that.
their percentage depending on what algorithm they're running to reconstruct the blockchain. Yes.
I never knew apes weren't on a decentralized storage. Why wouldn't they have them on a decentralized storage? What the hell?
Yeah, they're all hosted on a fucking independent server.
That's crazy. Like one computer, like some guy's eating Cheerios and knocks his computer over and everyone's just completely out.
Well, because like you have to think NFTs have to pull information from somewhere to get that JPEG, right? And if that
Yeah.
JPEG is not on a decentralized storage system, or frozen on the IPFS system, it's gone. I mean, if that server goes down or that website gets pulled, it's gone. It's rug
You
pull.
think they would have done that to start with, right on an IPFS server?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just don't know about it. And again, like, it doesn't necessarily keep their assets from, being stable as far as price, in my opinion. That's one reason why I would never buy an ape, because if that shit's not locked up and that metadata is not frozen and can't be alterable, then there's no point in me buying something for a multi-million dollars to wake up and be a 404 one day.
Beware those big trendy utilities like that. What do they provide, and what are they doing for you, and how are they going to be retrieved in the event that we have
Yeah,
some
I mean,
catastrophic
again,
event?
like in crypto, everything runs off of trust of the network, And as far as NFTs, everybody trusts them because nobody's woken up with 404 messages yet. So as far as right now, it's trusted. But, there is that possibility that one day that server may go down and you may have a fucking $3 million 404 message.
Yep.
It'll still be verifiable. You'll still be able to say, hey, that's a legitimate ape. But the picture won't be there.
That wouldn't be as cool to have a museum of like 404 codes, and you're like, huh.
It'd be pretty cool in a dystopian sense, right?
Yeah.
Like the Museum of 404s here.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all the broken projects that didn't make it. That'd be good. I'd go to see the museum. I
A
wouldn't pay
great-
for the NFTs.
Yeah, like my dad, he does database administrating, and I've been talking to him about blockchain this week because he was learning Solidity, and he cannot get over the idea that there is no centralized server that everything is querying through.
It's just
Like
like
he can't.
torrents.
I know, but he can't
Easiest
understand
way.
that. Like even with torrents, though, there's a centralized server that's hosting it.
Because
Look at
again,
the
like
early
Wild
the
West,
early
it's
map
new.
of the internet.
Yeah, with crypto, there's no centralized server. It's a distributed. So there's three kinds of networks for internet, right? There's a fucking normal internet that we have. There's a decentralized internet, and there's a distributed internet, right? And crypto utilizes a distributed internet. They say decentralized internet, but that's not true. Because decentralized will have a point that branches off to another point that will branch off to another point that branch off, and it'll basically make this like web, but it has little end points, right? Like end nodes. With a distributed ledger, you have all these nodes that are laid out in a web, and they're all interconnected multiple times. So that way, if half the web comes down, you can still make information go from here to here.
Made me think of Diamond Dallas Page from the 90s. Bang.
But it's essentially like a spider web versus, you know, like a sunburst. They'll have little points and then rays coming out, and points and rays and points and rays, you know. So it's actually a distributed network. It's not a decentralized network. It is decentralized in the fact that, you know, it's a decentralized network itself, but it is actually a distributed network. That
Yeah, I
way,
like thinking of when you look at a map of like the onion router and like how that system operates, that's like a good representation of it. It's like there's packets being sent out all different directions. And if something goes down, like you still get the packets from somewhere. It's like people have it seeded from maybe 5 or 6 different sources. Whereas in crypto, yeah, like the internet could be sent out from 200 different computers.
You're hitting me right in the OG. You Tor back in the day.
Good times.
even with
Good time.
even with Tor 2, I mean, it still has, I mean, it's open source and it has like a group of developers that work on it. You know what I'm saying? Which is essentially comparable to Ethereum's network. The only difference, the fact that it has a governance system, you know, which is one thing that he didn't understand, is the fact that, you know, his idea is that there's a group of developers developing it, right? And that's not the way it is. It's a group of developers that are developing it with other groups of developers, and these groups of developers will put up proposals, and then everybody will vote on those proposals for improvements on the network. But that's one thing that he had a very hard time kind of grasping, is the fact that there's no one central hosting entity. You know, it's actually hosted by everybody. It's like, well, there has to be one, you know, entity that can, or that stores the whole ledger. And I was like, no, the whole ledger is distributed to every single node. You know, so every single node can actually verify it. And that's whenever we started talking about, you know, well, you know, if it's a publicly distributed ledger, then, you know, people can fucking track it. And I was like, well, you are kind of right that, you know, that's one of the flip sides of it, but it's still, you know, relatively anonymous. So.
That's the utility that gives it such great social import, like what we were talking about on your podcast there, Gunpoint. That we have something that's actually like trackable and verifiable, and that has great social import in terms of like, say, I think you brought up the point with politicians accepting you know, funds. Right, being able to have a utility where we're able to track and determine where those funds came from. That's kind of like having your politicians, you know, up on the microphone, wearing patches for everyone that ever gave them, you know, campaign money or finances. You know, it gives us a greater ability to trust the fact that we know where it is that they're coming from. But this hasn't been adopted on a mass scale, so again, it could create those, you know, that lack of clarity for people that have different intentions, you know, different privacy, you know, notions in their mind about what it is that they want to acquire out of these systems.
Yeah, and just to circle back to like, you know, not as a shill, but just as like a reality with the OG community. You know, we're already offering the solution of like, you know, your your asset is secure, it belongs to you, you know, and that community aspect kind of builds the trust on top of that. But what we give to the artist is that security of like okay, well, we're going to back you, we're going to store this data so that you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to feel that fear of that outcome in the
Mhm.
future. We really want your music to live and be recycled throughout, the the world.
As long as we've got the internet running, right?
And the big thing is you want it to be immutable. You know, you want it to be unchangeable. So if somebody buys a song, they're gonna always have that song. You know,
That's the brilliance of this man's vision here. Most definitely. Therein
Yeah.
lies the catch. Most definitely.
And you said unmutable, you go into the industry and you try your best and you give it your best shot and you could be a fucking talented musician, but they're like, hey, uh you look great, and all of that, but you have psoriasis and I'm not gonna tell you that you have to go get shots to fix that, but you got to go get shots to fix that because we don't want to
Because
sell
they're
your music if you're not the part.
yeah.
well, it's just like a Marilyn Monroe effect. You know, I mean, I feel like digital concerts and being able to take such a metaverse will greatly decrease that pressure on artists and especially uh, record labels to force their artists to be you know doing stuff like that, and destroying their bodies and their brains, and even if they don't know it, and the record labels are doing it to them, and those stories are so prevalent.
No, it's
You
I mean
know,
it's written into their contract that they have to present themselves certain ways, that they have to use certain products, that they have to be at certain parties at certain times. There's a lot of there are conspiracy theories developed all around this, that
yeah,
the centralized music industry is basically just using people as tools for
yeah.
for social purposes, right?
It's comparable to whenever you go to a record label, you're signing your soul with them, you know. Um, you're giving them the right to your music, you're giving them the right to your image, you're giving them the right to, tell you what you can and can't do. Um,
Britney Spears with
you know,
Pepsi. I always bring
yeah,
that one up.
all,
She couldn't be seen holding a Coke bottle. She had to have
yeah,
Pepsi at all
and
times, right?
all of that is, just a big fugazi. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, and it's especially damaging to the artist and where our industry is going.
Yeah.
Um, it loses faith in the artist, which in turn loses faith in the record companies, which in turn leads to solutions like ours.
Gunpoint, what was it that you said earlier today? It was basically something to the effect of fighting the music industry with community, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's
Well, you
bigger than
know,
our project can be. If anything happens to any of us, there's still going to be a huge community there fighting for it.
and what we are is we may be an early front runner with this idea, but these are concepts that are going to be exponentially more important in the coming years.
I don't think they're important. I think they're a necessity.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I don't think there's any bit of importance to it. I think that it's a necessity. It's something that we cannot let the industry go forth and keep doing, and still have it be a maintainable industry.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you're gonna
Right. And just
so many artists that don't want to. I'm sorry. I'll let you cut in 1 second.
no, I was
Um,
just
go ahead. Go ahead.
adding
You
to
can go.
what you're saying. I was just saying, I was just cheering you on or whatever, but and just from a work standpoint, they expect you to work hardcore, beat your body all the way down and dehumanize you in a sense,
Whole shows a day
and
on an airplane, lugging things around with a whole team, draining assets. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And there's this allure that you become a god or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're just like a human and you're defeated in that, and you don't even have room to take a hiatus. I don't feel I have a creative writer's block right now, and they're like, oh well, suck it up, you have a contract, and then
Yep.
you
Mhm.
pump out an
Yep.
album that's shit and you lose fans.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I mean that's the whole thing. It's so unempowering to the artist to sign over to a record label that's gonna not really do anything more than they could just because they have contacts,
Yep.
you know. which is where the key point of everybody in the industry needing to come together as a community, and we all need to support each other and use each other's resources so we can stop relying on these corporations that don't necessarily have, the artist's best interest.
That's the utilitarian aspect of OG. You have the opportunity to draw upon a larger crowd. You're on a platform where you're sharing crowds. You're drawing attention to across genre. It's not limited to, if you're a pop artist, you're only going to be able to have pop artist crowds. You'll be able to draw from the generalized community. And again, it's so important to think of it like peer-to-peer transactions. The people being able to create their own communities to be able to push what products they find to be usable and enjoyable and entertaining, without so much influence from, well, that's not pop, well, that's not rock. That's not what hip hop is supposed to be. Well, we decide what hip hop's supposed to be. We decide what pop's supposed to be. We
It's
decide what rock's supposed
It's
to be.
like whenever you're being an asshole and somebody tells you that you're an asshole and you're like, no, I'm not. Like, it's not for you to decide on if you're an asshole. Like, that's for everybody else to decide.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
That's right.
you can't be like, oh, you're being an asshole. No, I'm not. And
This
then,
D-
hey,
this
you're not
DNS
no,
the
everybody
DNA test says you're an asshole.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, essentially, it's going to have to come to a point to where everybody is supporting everybody and everybody has access to everybody's resources in order for the music industry to prosper. If we don't make that leap and we continue this grind, people aren't going to listen to music anymore.
Yeah.
The artists aren't going to make music. They're not going to produce anymore. If kids don't think that you're going to be able to be a rock star one day and get out there and do multiple tours and be a millionaire, then they're not going to be motivated to do that. They're going to stay at home and be YouTubers.
That's right.
And YouTube musicians are going to be big, just like Corpse. I mean, Corpse was fucking huge, and the reason being is because he had a massive community around him, and everybody just vibed with his music and just came together more and more and more as a community, not any record label that gave him exposure. Like, he did all that himself.
Record labels have been doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
Another example is Mac Miller. He went viral before he was ever picked up by a label. And now at postmortem, they've absconded with massive amounts of wealth based off of his intellectual property. And what happened to him? My personal opinion, and this is just me floating something, the music industry kills people like this. We talk about like things like the 27 Club and things like that. Those are concepts that have echoed throughout the music industry for a long time, because what they're doing is they're seeing a social trend and they're saying, how do we capitalize on that? We talked about capitalism earlier. The negative utility of capitalism is that there's going to be people that are going to monetize themselves based off of your hard work, your art, your intellectual property, and this cuts that out.
I mean, look at what Kurt Cobain talked about his whole life. I mean, how much the record labels were draining him, and how he really just wanted to get out. And whenever he actually wrote a letter to his fans that he just wanted to quit the industry and focus on his family, they often wrote 4 extra lines down there, you know what I mean? And that basically had the only thing in it that had anything to do with the suicide. He anybody who has a following that is doing something revolutionary, they're probably not going to be there to see the end of it.
Yep. And even outside of the
Yeah.
realm of conjecture, these utilities have been for a long time. When you go out and you're a musician, you've got somebody that goes and gets you entertained while you're out on tour. People are going to buy you drugs. People are going to do one or another thing for you. They're the ones that keep you entertained. You've got a staff doctor who gave Michael Jackson enough drugs to have a massive overdose, and he died. And he was scared to drink a bottle of water in the last few years of his life because he was worried about what was going to be in it. Everything had to be sealed, or he was personally paranoid about it. And it's because they want you to be able to make your own art and display it as you wish. They want to control it.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Free Britney movement was so big, because people were finally waking up to, we need to change. And so, like everything, there's this buffer period that we're going to have to go through. in order to bridge the gap there. But at least there was some eyes that came into that, that world of like, pretty much being a prisoner in your own life. We're all sovereign, but when you sign away certain rights, you have to fight for those rights in depth to the point where it may like completely deplatform you or unperson you,
Hmm.
things to that effect. So I'm
It's an
gonna hop off.
yeah.
It was a great talk, and I just want to say hi and bye.
So yeah, I mean, like one of the big reasons why I started OG wasn't all the things that it is today. I started OG because I originally wanted just musicians to be able to turn their music into NFTs. But through talking to artists and talking to producers and different musicians and just different people in the industry and just seeing how much a community was needed, um, if I can help one artist not be a slave to a corporation, I've done my job.
Yep.
Hopefully, this movement or this organization will, outlive me.
We've already got several
Um,
that have been put into a situation where they're able to take control of their own art. I personally,
yeah,
as a musician, admire the vision so much. It was very attractive to me to hear that the concept was that this stronghold that has been centralized for so long is being put back in our
yeah.
hands.
And
Most definitely.
essentially, I mean, we are a company, but OG is also a movement, It's a movement to get, musicians to gather as a whole and have a voice. um, Individual musicians right now don't necessarily have a voice, but if we can build a community that's based around benefiting these artists and what they can do, I think our goal will be complete.
Along with their personal communities that they bring. Everybody that is involved with the project already is existing. They have some sort of following. They have the people that they bring to the network, and that's the base. And those are the people that are going to be listening to their preferred musician, and then say, hey. This guy's on there. This lady's on here. This is great stuff, and give this opportunity for cross collaboration between crowds that have been distanced from each other through industry standards.
All right, so I guess we are going to end it here. That was a good ending.
All right, guys, it's been a
You
pleasure.
still awake on point?
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
Anything else?
You wanna
I gotta find the button to click on. There it is.
Alrighty.
All right, we are signing off. Until next week.
Until next week.